Everyone, my name is Pamela Welling. I'm the founder of the North Grenville Writers Circle. Today we're talking to Jayne Lowell, and by we, I mean RoseMarie and I. RoseMarie?
Hi, I'm RoseMarie Keogh-Smyth, author of the best-selling book Don't Have Sex 9 Months Before Christmas and Other Practical Financial Tips. Today, we are delighted to be speaking with Jayne. I've known her for a little while now. She's a very successful entrepreneur, business strategist, and a seven-figure mindset mentor whose career spans, well, we won't say.
Please.
More than 10 years. She's at least 21. So Jayne is a co-owned and she's helped grow a clothing manufacturing company, more than $11 million in sales before turning her attention to helping entrepreneurs, experts, and speakers build thriving businesses on their own, including the man that she's in love with.
And for her practical approach to mindset, strategy, and revenue generation, Jayne has helped countless business owners move beyond limiting beliefs to identify new opportunities and turn their expertise into profitable enterprises. Together with her husband and business partner, Steve, she has become a trusted advisor to entrepreneurs and professional speakers around the world. Welcome, Jayne.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
So, just to begin, for people that this is their first time meeting us, what sparked your interest in business and entrepreneurship?
Well, I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. So, my father was a tool and die maker by trade. He started when he was 16, and by the time he was 20, he had his own company. And by the time he was, I think, about 27, I'm going to say, he had sold the company to his partner. And he bought a small engine business in the little town where we lived in north of Toronto. And he put a gas bar in, he put a car wash in, and our town was 1,000 people, so this was a big deal. And he had that business probably for about 8 or 9 years, and then he sold it. And then he basically retired. And my mom bought a business, and she bought a plant business. My dad worked in it when he felt like it. My mom then ran this business from the time I was, I'm going to say 16-ish, until she passed away. And so for me, entrepreneurial was just like I didn't know parents who had a corporate job and went to work at 9 and came home at 5. And so I am actually the only one of our siblings, of the three of us, who has held a corporate job. So I worked as a buyer for the first 10 years of my life, and I bought for people like Simpsons, Pennington's, in clothing. And then I went into my own business when I was 29 years old. So I would say I grew up as an entrepreneur and, really was the anomaly by having a corporate job for 10 years. So I've always been, that's what I know. I don't know anything else really.
Born
Did
into
working in
it.
corporate make you, did working in corporate make you the black sheep of the family, Jayne?
That's a good question. No, I think they were happy and, proud because, as you all know, entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. So I think they were happy that that's what I did, but they certainly were also happy when I opened up my own company and, went down that path. So, yeah.
So, what's the defining? Did you have a defining moment, or you always knew when you were a kid that entrepreneurship was something that you were eventually going to go?
Yeah, there was never really a defining moment other than, I guess, when I was married to my husband at the time. Um, I was working for Zellers. So I had moved from Toronto to Montreal and I was a buyer for Zellers. And I was pregnant with our first son, and they decided that the whole area that I was in, they were restructuring it. So they let about five of us go. And so I was 3 months pregnant. Wasn't going to get another job, in that industry right away because nobody, no one's hiring me knowing that that I'm going to give birth in 6 months. And then my son was born, and my husband at the time, he came home from work. Aaron was 8 days old, and he said, "You're not going to believe this, but the division I'm working for, they've decided that they're going to close that division." So both of us found ourselves out of work. And he had two kids that we were supporting. I still owned a house in Toronto that I couldn't sell, couldn't rent. It was, in the bad times of market. And we had bought another house. And so we looked at each other, and I like to say we did what any normal person would do. We decided to start a company. So he came from manufacturing in clothing. I came from buying. So I had all the contacts with the buyers, and he knew how to go about manufacturing, and it was just a perfect fit for us. So we kind of just, Aaron was 8 days old. When he was 18 days old, I dropped him at my mom's in Toronto, and we flew to LA and we signed a tie-up with a company there. We did screen print t-shirts that were very specific, and we signed this contract so that we could manufacture them in Canada. And our first order was with Walmart, and it was for 50,000 t-shirts. So that was
Wow.
kind of my start into entrepreneurship, and never look back from there.
I guess there's the initially there could be concern, but since you had a background and you could take control of your life, take control of your business by going that way. Did you find like it felt a little more freeing to be able to be responsible for your own destiny running a
Yeah,
business?
I think
Or
so, especially since I was then having children, and so I went on 11 months later, I had twins. So
oh,
brand new business and three babies. And I just, for me, it was, I'm a risk taker. So yes, there were definitely hard times, there's no question, but I always knew that this was the path for me. This was the path I needed to go down.
right on. So do you find since you've already been born into it, it's more natural. When you meet people that you help coach, do you find there's like sometimes mind limiting like they're holding
So
themselves back
yeah,
for
so many mind limitations, with
yeah.
people. Especially, I think there's a lot of mind limitations just from what other people say. So, what do you mean you're going to start a company? Do you know how to do that? Like, how do you know how you're going to do that? Like, don't you know there's a lot of risk involved in that? And, there's so many questions that people have, not just from within themselves, but from other people that are around them
Mhm.
that kind of take away their dream and, like start making them question, well, is this really the right thing to do? And should I do that? And yeah,
Yeah.
so definitely lots of mind issues.
And a lot of what you were growing up with your parents believing, or like generations back, we had the people that suffered from the depression, and all that can imprint on people. Get a
Absolutely.
good job. It used to be you get one job, you stay there forever. Now it's like, and then it became you get multiple jobs throughout your life, and the risk rewards of actually going out and finding your own business, I guess, is something not everybody's prepared for. Do you think education, research, like what's some of the most important things if you're going to be an entrepreneur? What should you approach your new business with?
Well, I think a team is important because what I found with most entrepreneurs is that generally they don't have the education because this is why they've gone into entrepreneurship because they're usually great salespeople.
Mm.
Most entrepreneurs I know can sell, and it's an innate natural thing. They can just go out and speak to anybody, and they haven't gone through the traditional path of, going to school, getting an education, becoming an accountant, a lawyer, a doctor, whatever. They tend to be more like fly by the seat of their pants. And that's a wonderful thing to start your business with. But then there's all the financial things that go behind it that a lot of entrepreneurs have no idea because they're not structured. A lot of entrepreneurs don't have structure. So, and that's a great thing because it makes them go out and take the risk. It makes them, go do things that other people wouldn't do. But the problem is they don't have the back part of it. So I would say to somebody like, if you're starting out, you can only just have yourself to start the company. Make sure you've got a great accountant. Make sure you've got a great bookkeeper. Like have those things in place so you know where your money is. Because a lot of people go out, they can make the money, but they just don't know what to do with it once they have it and they don't keep it. And that's where, RoseMarie or Rosie, as I like to call her, that's where she comes in and can help you with that. That's her.
I've heard that is a problem.
It is a problem, as you know. So yeah,
Yeah, that sort of sounds the same as for the North, like the writers. They want to write and they want to sell, but they don't want to necessarily do the marketing piece or
right,
whatever. I don't know
right.
if I'm right, but sometimes with what
Yeah,
I've met, they just want to write the book, but the
yeah,
other side is necessary as well,
yeah.
right?
Business is about selling, marketing, and finance. Those are the
Yeah.
3 points. And you don't have all of them. And so you
Know
have,
what you want to do and know what you need help with, I guess. Eh?
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And a
Okay.
lot of us who write a book, we know how to write a book.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're not getting rich off that book if it just sits on the Amazon shelf, the Kindle shelf, it's not happening.
Yeah.
It's really, it takes that other piece, it takes that walking up on stage, it takes that making offers, creating courses, all of this stuff that comes behind the book. Even if it's, I mean, sure, if you're Stephen King, but he took some time to get there. So
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And that's the whole thing. You're not only selling your book, you're selling yourself because they want to, sometimes they want to have well, these days,
relationship.
social relationships, and they
Yeah.
want to expect that your next book is good. So if you don't sell yourself, then how are they going to know, oh, the next James Patterson's coming out or the next, so and so is coming out? It's a big part of it for my world, I think. So it's a big part of the world for finance and entrepreneurship too, I guess, for everything. Yeah. So you described yourself as a seven-figure mindset mentor. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, that was kind of a name that was given to me because my business was actually an 8-figure business. I took it from being 5.5 million for about 15 years. It hovered around there. And then a lot of things changed. Margins changed, buying was changing, and we needed to double the business. And I had no idea how to go about doing that. So what I actually did was I went to a course in the States by Tom Hopkins, and he's a sales trainer, a very well-known sales trainer. I didn't really know anything about him, but I thought, well, I've never been formally trained in how to sell, so maybe that's what I need to do. So within about 5 minutes, I knew that that was not the course I needed, but he brought a business coach up on stage. And until that time, I had never, ever, ever, imagine this, done any personal development. I didn't even know what personal development was. I had no idea. And I had just jumped into this. I know how to sell, from my head. I know clothing and I know what people want to buy. And I'm just going to do this. And for 15 years, that was great. And so I came back to Montreal and I hired myself a business coach. And I had no idea what she was going to do. It was somebody I had met at another friend who also had a company, and she did this women's kind of thing in the morning where we all got together, and I met this business coach and I really loved her, and I thought, well, I'm going to hire her, having no clue, thinking maybe there's a magic pill I just need to take and all of a sudden it's all going to be great. And so what I started to learn was that it was my own self, my own mindset that was holding me back. And I thought I had to be at every meeting. I was the only person who could sell. I was the only person who could talk about, the clothing the way I could. I was the only one who was passionate. And what I learned is that I needed to bring on 3 executive managers. And I brought on one for Walmart, Kmart, and Sears. And because we were selling 80% of our goods into the States at that point. And so I hired ex-buyers who didn't want to be buying anymore. And I hired them as the account executives. So they knew the framework, they knew the team, they knew everything that was going on in that company. And the next year we took the company to 11.4 million. So I learned very quickly that it wasn't really about what you were doing, it's what you believed and what was going on in the people that are running the company, if it's your company or whatever the different parts are, that it's their mindset. So when I closed the company in 2010, and the reason I closed it is because we were making brands, their brand names for them. So Sears had a brand name, Walmart had a brand name, Kmart had a brand name, and we were the manufacturers for a lot of those products. So how it works is 10% of the budget were for people like us that were called domestic importers. So we actually went overseas, we imported the goods for them and drop shipped them at their warehouse. They also had a buying team that would buy themselves directly overseas. And so when the market crashed in 2008, especially hitting the States, that 10% that was at the top that they would buy from us because we could get faster turns, we could, just do things faster than their own team, they got rid of that budget. And so in 2009, we were on target to do 16 million. We did another 11 that year, but I could see the writing on the wall. For 2010, they were not making any placements, they were doing nothing. And we were fortunate, we got all of our money in. We kept kind of just saying, oh, we're not ready to come show you the line. And they're like, that's okay. And so we got all of our money, all of our receivables in, and then we closed the company in 2010. And I did try to sell the vendor numbers because that was important, but they wanted me with the vendor numbers. And I was like, well, if I'm going to do that, I might as well just stay, in the company. So closed it in 2010. And by this point, I had really loved coaching. It had helped me so much. And I just loved being able to talk to people and find out what their mindset was and what was going on. And I'm very intuitive, so it's easy for me to kind of see where people are not sharing what is really going on in the background. And so I started coaching people on their mindset. And then I just got that, moniker of seven-figure mindset, because who doesn't want to have a seven-figure business? And then around that time, my husband at the time and we split. And after 25 years of marriage, and I met Steve and we started dating, and then I moved to Ottawa. And at this point, I was heavily into coaching people on their mindset. And I kind of started with him in Ottawa. So and he tells the story from the stage about, how his mindset shifted and what it did for his business. And in 2016, we had someone come. So we were part of Canadian Association of Professional Speakers, CAPS, here in Canada. And we had someone come, I had gifted a mindset coaching as part of an auction or something. And so he came to our backyard and we spent the afternoon, and he had a lot of mindset issues with his family, as most people do. And at the end, he said to me, "You're a millionaire." Now, what nobody knew, because I had not told anybody, is after we sold the company in 2010, basically, all the money was lost. We didn't have enough money to retire for the rest of our life, but all the money was lost through varying circumstances. And I was selling jewelry, I was selling furniture just basically to live. And then my husband at the time and we divorced, and I moved here, and I was just, doing my coaching. That was my thing. So I said to this guy who asked me the question, yeah, And then I went in the house and I said to Steve, I've just said I'm a millionaire, because in my head, I was a millionaire still. And so I said, I think we need to take the next year and we need to put our businesses together. I need to work in your business. I'll still do some mindset coaching, but I can really make a shift in the training speakers and that business. And so I said, I want to do in 2017, I want to have a seven-figure business. And then I want to get on stage in 2018 and I want to share my story, because no one in Ottawa knew my story. They knew me as this business owner who had done $11.4 million. And so we did $1 million in 2017. And this same person who had asked me the question, he was running Mo Mondays. So for anybody here in Canada, there's a Mo Mondays in Toronto. We don't have one in Ottawa anymore. But he started taking it over, and he put out a call that anybody who had spoke at Mo Mondays, if they wanted to speak in January 2018 on his stage, he'd be happy to have them. So I called him and said, okay, I'd like to come speak. And he thought I was going to tell the story of how I shifted his mindset. And the next day he went out and sold a $20,000 client. And so I sat down for coffee and I said, no, actually, I'm not going to tell that story. Here's the story I'm going to tell. And he was like, what? So I got up on stage and I told my story of having lost everything, and having that year, the our first seven-figure year, and it was cathartic for me and relieving for me to actually tell this story, so that I could stop, hiding that story, because I had my own issues around it, why I wasn't telling it. And it also helped my clients who, when I would tell them, this is what you need to do and this is how you should do it. And now they're like, okay, Jayne, because they used to say to me, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, you haven't been there. You've never, you haven't experienced anything. And when I could actually share the story and tell them, listen, I know exactly where you're at, then they were more apt to listen to what I was suggesting and how they could shift things. So that's how I got to be the seven-figure mindset mentor.
Right on. I think that's really interesting. I mean, you had both the experience and then moving into the coaching and the public speaking. Maybe you don't want to share which one you like more. But I'm guessing if it was kind of the next stage,
I love coaching people. I
yeah,
love
She's
it.
very good at it.
The challenge I have is that I didn't want to have two separate companies within our home. I didn't want to have Steve running his company and me helping with him, and then me marketing for the mindset company. It just felt like there was a lot, it was a lot. And so for a couple of years, I continued doing mindset training with some of our clients that had come in to work with Steve, and they really needed to shift their mindset. And then Steve wanted to become the president of the Global Speakers Federation. And in order to do that, we needed to start traveling the world, which we did for 2 years prior to COVID. And he became the president during COVID, which wasn't so cool, but it was what it was. And so I stopped doing a lot of coaching because I just didn't have the time. I was in different time zones. I was, all over the place. I didn't have time to have a coaching practice. So I love running companies. I'm a visionary. I see things before other people see them. I do have a couple of clients still that have been with me over 10 years that they come back every couple of years and they're like, okay, Jayne, it's time. We need to do some work again. So I keep those ones, and if somebody asks me and they're really willing and they want to do it, I will do it. But I'm more focused on running our business, which is, the training business.
right on. So next, I wouldn't mind talking about um, more into you're working with Steve now that we've gotten that far. Do you guys find that you're complementing each other's strengths kind of thing?
Yeah.
Like,
So Steve is a born trainer.
mm,
He is creative. He can see things that other people can't see in themselves, and he loves to train them in how to get that out of them. And I'm a born visionary, I'm 3 steps ahead, always looking, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? How can we help that client get to where they want to get to? And so we really complement each other on what we do. We both have huge respect for each other. And I think that, is a key to working together is that you have to value each other's strengths and you have to let each other uh, run with their strengths. So in the beginning, it was very easy because I didn't know really what Steve did and how he did it. Now I've sat in on probably 1,000 of his training sessions, and so now he doesn't really like me sitting in on them because I want to add something. And as Rosie knows, his rule is there is one coach in the room, and that's him. So
mhm.
I tend to not actually go to the training anymore because I find it difficult to not, after watching for, that many times, it's easy for me now to add some comments because, he might forget something or whatever. But we both have great respect for what we each do, and we kind of let each other do their thing and come together at different times in the day, what's going on, and then that's it. And then, go back to what we're doing. So yeah, it works great.
So what's
But
a
when you are in
typical,
the room, sorry,
Sorry?
when you are in the room, Jayne, it is you see the looks on the faces
Yeah,
that Steve might not be picking up on. You've got that
I
trick
do.
of being able to go, she didn't get it, or he's off
Yeah,
somewhere else, or
yeah,
I can hear that mind monkey over there.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
so how did you two meet? Was
We
it,
networking event here in Ottawa. It's called E-Women. We don't have one anymore. It's
hmm,
from Dallas. And actually, my coach that I had for all those years in the clothing company, when I closed the company, she said to me, "Why don't you come? I have a VIP ticket." It was the July of 2010. And she says, "I knew nothing about networking. I knew nothing about women organizing. I knew nothing. I knew about how to manufacture clothing. That's what I knew." And she's like, "Why don't you just come and, be in the presence of all these people and just see what it's like?" And so then we didn't have one in Montreal because of the French language, because they're an American company. It was just too difficult. But Ottawa had one. And so I had been meaning to go to one for a few years. And finally in 2012, I said, some people on here might know Diana Lidstone, and Diana and I were friends. And I said, why don't we go to this eWomen in Ottawa? And when we go there, we can't sit together. We have to like sit with different people just so that, we get to know people. And she always tells that story. And so Steve was, as he says, manning the door, and he was doing all the registration. And then I went and sat at a table and he came and sat with me. And so that's how we met. And we became really great friends. And I was still married at the time. He was still married. And we did a lot of training, my ex-husband and I, with him on stage presence. And so I really got to know his business. I actually started selling his business before we were ever dating. It was one of the services to my clients that I would provide. Like, I know this guy in Ottawa and you need to be training with him. So it's easy to sell people that you believe in, right? It's easy to sell something that you believe in.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What type of clients does Steve usually have right now?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We have anyone who wants to use the spoken word communication to sell what they're doing, whether that's on a stage, whether that's a webinar, whether they need a course. Um, that's what he does, and it's always to get to yes. So it's not like if you're an inspirational speaker and you just want to get up on a stage and you want to share your story, that's he does work with people. I'm not going to say he doesn't, but that's not the main part of our business. 90% of our business is somebody who has something that they want to sell and they want to use the stage or communications to sell it. And he wrote a book called Deep Thought Strategy. We sometimes call it Expert Insights or your differentiating message. And it's how to talk about your business, your book, your whatever it is you have in a very unique way that he's created that nobody else has. So that is the main reason that people would come and work with us, is because they want that differentiating message. And then he works with them on stage presence and how to do their talk. And sometimes he writes talks for people as well. So yeah,
And there are various types of clients. Like it could be
it could be an entrepreneur, it could
yeah.
be a coach, it could be a doctor, it could be, we don't have a niche in terms of who our client really is. It's someone who wants to communicate in a better way.
Okay.
And as anybody who knows you and Steve knows, there was once a tennis instructor.
There was once a tennis instructor, exactly. Yeah.
Probably now a pickleball instructor. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's true.
So, why do you believe that public speaking remains one of the most powerful business growth tools available today?
Yeah, when I was thinking about that question, and I think it's because people want relationships and they want to be able to feel that they can trust you, especially in today's world. Like, there are thousands of courses, there are thousands of people out there doing, and you just don't know, is that course a great course? Is that person really the real deal? And I think when you can communicate in a way that reaches somebody into their heart, into their being, I think that's a skill that then people are like, okay, I can trust them. I feel comfortable with them. And so I think it will always remain, an important thing. And more so after COVID, because we had so many years of no connection. And then,
Mhm.
people, like, it was very weird for us because we had a totally event-based business. And
Yeah.
so we came back from South Africa and Namibia on February 28th. We had 5 events planned. We had one planned with Brian Tracy. And all of a sudden, everything was shut down and we had no online business. So Steve had always trained online. That was never a problem. But it was, how do we sell online? How do we even find these people? And then, when we actually could meet people again a couple of years later, to see them in person was like so exciting because, that's what we were used to, connection and, hugging people. And so, yeah, it's been quite a journey over the last 6 years, since COVID, and just switching things all around.
So now, So now he's got that certification, and is that an online or a?
Yeah, so that actually the certification is more for companies. It's more of a corporate certification. So we'll go into a company, and specifically in Ontario, we can use what's called the COJG grant. And the government will pay 80, a little bit more than 83% of all the costs of training. And then you're only responsible for the 17%. And so we go in and do group trainings where they want to communicate better, and that they, as a company or a foundation, we've worked a lot with foundations, they want a consistent message and they want that out in the world. And so we work with them in a team setting, and that's where and a lot of them want the certification. So that's where we do the certification. Most of our entrepreneurs, coaches, authors, they don't use the certification. It's not something they're looking for. They're looking for either more one-on-one, or they're looking for a specific thing that they yeah.
Okay, so so they can come to you and say, "Hey, look, I want to be able to blank or whatever," and then you'll talk to them about what you can do.
Exactly. So people
Okay.
come to us, they want talks written for them, they want to be better on the stage, they want a differentiating message, and those are primarily the things that people come to us for.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to experts who have the knowledge but hesitate to share it?
Well, here's the thing I know about experts. And I know about experts who speak and want to speak. The biggest problem they have is they want to say everything that they know on stage or on a webinar or in a course. And then what happens is people are like, well, I've got so many golden nuggets, I don't need to hire you.
Mhm.
And Steve's template and format is totally different. He shifts all that around. He gets experts to stop talking about what they're an expert in, and actually understanding where the meets the audience where they're at, and gets them to figure out what their problem is, and that you're actually the person who can help them without telling them how you're going to help them. So that's the thing. Experts are very they love to overshare. And Steve is one of them. And that was one of the things I brought to our relationship, is telling him, stop teaching. You're getting on stage and you're teaching, 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 and nobody's buying, because all you're doing is giving them information. And that's how he came to Deep Thought Strategy. That's how he came to the formula, is through me telling him, stop it. So yeah, so that's what I would say to experts.
Right on. Can you share a specific client success story that perfectly illustrates the power of combining the right mindset, business strategy, and communication skills?
Yeah. So this woman comes to mind. We met her through CAPS, and she had, over the years, she was a trainer, but she did do some speaking, and she had done, like 150,000 in a year. She had had years where she did, 80,000. And she was at this point where for 2 years she was making like 20 to 30,000. And that was just not, where she was at. So she was like, there's something in my mind that needs to shift, and I need to be able to communicate better. And so I first worked with her to shift what was going on in her mind. And then she started working with Steve. And then we do these events once a year, sometimes twice a year, where we bring all of our students in and they speak on the stage, and we have an audience that is there to watch them. And so that they can get a video and they can get photos. And so Linda got up and she spoke on the stage, and she speaks on a personality. So, DISC or Myers-Briggs, hers is called BANK. And so Steve had this very cool way of her bringing people from the audience and putting them into the different personalities. And it was so cool how they actually took on the personality. Like, she didn't know them at all, but she just, excuse me, described the person, and then they would kind of take on that personality. It was really cool the way she did it. And so she gave us a testimonial after she did the work with Steve and I, and she was making in 1 month now what she had been making before in 1 year. And so that was a combination of working with all the different pieces together. And, The thing that really annoys me is that you'll see a lot of marketing out there where they'll say, like, if you learn this, like in 3 weeks, you're going to have that. And, it doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. Our most successful clients have worked with us over time because they take a piece, they practice it, they try it, they come back, they want something new, they come back. So, we have one guy, he's been with us. Oh, I met him the first year I met Steve and went and took a course. So that was in 2012. And he's been with us ever and working with Steve ever since. And he might go away for a couple of years and then he comes back again and then he goes away for a couple of years. And he is a very successful business training disc. And he is ex-military and he calls himself the retired spy. And it's just a process. You always get better. It's not a one and done. It's not like, oh, I did that and now I'm going to be good for the rest of rest of my time. And we don't tend to work with speakers, like people who are getting paid to speak. Those are not our clients. First of all, they think they know how to speak because they're getting paid to speak. So even though they should be working and improving what they do, they tend not to. And our programs are really geared towards people who want to earn money from the stage, not get paid to speak on the stage. So if you get paid, 2,000 to 20,000, whatever that is on the stage, you're basically capping your income. But if you get on a stage and you're in front of the right audience, now the sky's the limit. We've done as much as $160,000 on a stage where we didn't get paid, but Steve made an offer and those were the sales we did. So those are the people that we tend to work with.
Right on. Yeah, while you're talking, going, I just finished my marketing course recently, and it's like there's people that you do things and you don't make the money right away, but you make it later.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
it's still important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Tracking that so you know where it came from, though, is also very helpful to your brain.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And digital marketing is kind of easy for that, right?
Yeah.
And you spend the money on things to buy right away, or you spend money to sort of get them thinking about it. So
Yeah.
I guess if you're anything you do to sharpen your saw, no, I'm stealing from Stephen Covey, I think, to make, it adds to your soft skills, it adds to your, it gives,
Coaching and training is something everybody, in Quebec,
yeah.
there's 1% of all of your revenue must go to training. That's how much they believe in it. So as a company, like when we had our clothing company, we could do training. Back then it was mostly in computers. That's what we spent our 1% on because, computers were relatively new at the time. And actually, when we started the company, we did not have a computer. So I'm dating myself a little, but that wasn't that long ago. It was 1991, so we invested a lot in learning computers and training, but they still have that 1% of their budget has to go to training. So
Yeah,
they believe in it. And I think, more people should believe in it.
for sure. I agree with that. RoseMarie, you must agree with that, I think. So
I am a bit of a training
person,
trainer.
yeah.
It's not an expense, it's an investment,
Yeah.
it's an investment in your future, really.
But
So
again, it's that analysis of which training is actually, which one are you going to use, which one are you doing because the Joneses are doing which one. So
Yeah,
it
exactly.
all comes back to that,
Yes.
not the FOMO style training,
Yeah,
but the training that you actually need at this time, not, oh, I'm
exactly.
going to need that.
Yeah.
one of the things that, military is all about training, right? So you're
Right.
doing things to get ready for when you need it, a lot of it.
Right.
But like, I had a point. Oh, where'd it go?
It'll come back.
Oh yeah, when you're the other thing that they tell us is to understand your strengths and your weaknesses.
Right.
And anything that's a strength, I mean, you still have to check that it's a strength because you could think that it's a strength and it's not. But you should figure out, what aren't you doing as well as it needs to be done. And like we were talking earlier, you either hire somebody else to do it or you gain the skills. You take the time and gain the skills, right? I'm guessing.
Well, and I would say for the most part, don't learn how to do it. Because if it's not a strength of yours, And like, for example, I don't love accounting. It's not my favorite thing in the world. I can do it. Could I take a course to do it? Yes, I could. But I'm going to waste time. I'm better to go out and talk about what we do and invest my time in helping somebody else get what they want and hire the person to do the accounting that, I don't really want to do. So unless you absolutely have to, if it's really something you don't like and it's not your strength, I would say don't do it. Just find a way to hire that person. And you're paying
And
it forward. Money moves.
Yeah.
Economies work on us paying the other person who then pays us, and that's not to hoard it all to ourselves, but to actually have the money moving.
And the other thing that they taught us is to make sure that people who have the skills, you you get them to use their full potential. So
Right.
that would be where you work, you offer to them to work
Right.
and to build up their skills or whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we're moving over to the lightning round.
My favorite.
Yep. Over to you.
Though I would like to add one point that cleaning your house can also fall under that. If you can
Yeah.
go out and sell a $20,000 course
Yep.
and pay somebody else to to clean your
Yep.
house,
Who's
Yeah.
pay
good
somebody
at
else
it?
to clean your house. Who's
Yeah.
good at it? I mean, my niece is amazing
Your
at it. She has a
skill.
business. She loves it. Okay, great. You have fun. You know?
Yeah.
In
That's
our
so.
household, that's a man's job, so I don't have to worry about that.
My
So,
husband's more domestic too. Anyway,
military.
we might. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can even sew if we needed to, but we don't. Over to you,
So,
Rosemary.
Jane, what are you currently working on?
Yeah, isn't that the exciting thing? So, for about 3 years, I've been telling Steve we need to put AI somehow, some way into our business. That is, and Steve has been, no, absolutely not. There's no, we need people's brains. We need to have people working on what they do, writing their talk for them. Like, nope, there's no way we can have AI in it. Oh, okay, well, we'll see about that. So in January, Steve had skin cancer on his nose, and he's perfectly fine, but they had to chop off his nose, his nostril. And in order to fix that, what they do is it's a forehead flap. They take a piece from, well, he's bald, so they take a piece from way up here and they cut a piece out of your forehead. They keep it attached here. They flip it, and then they attach the end part to your nose. And you have to stay like that for 6 weeks. So you actually have a second nose for about 6 weeks. And that, because of that, he did not want to be on camera. We didn't go anywhere. And so I said to him, I think you should look into cloning yourself, like your brain, because now with AI, you can actually do like videos and all kinds of things with your voice. And he had been experimenting a little bit with courses using someone's AI voice, like cloning their voice and using that. So I bought him a program. And the first thing he was supposed to do was take photos of himself. Well, he started this after the surgery, so he couldn't take photos of himself. But then there was another part which was called putting your brain into the AI. So he got really fascinated with that and he started putting his brain into AI. All of his books, all of his content, everything he's been teaching for 40 years. And then he said, wouldn't it be really cool if we could create something that other people could put their brain in? And I could use a conversion brain, a persuasion brain, a storytelling brain, and we could put it into one app where people would just put their content in and they could spit out information, whether it's a social media post, whether it's a talk, whether it's an email you want to write for a sales email. And it would not be generic like all the other open AIs, Claude, Gemini, Chat, whatever. It would be them actually speaking, but using the power of AI. So I said, I love this idea. This is great. Like do it. Like go for it. So he worked for probably about, I guess it was about 4 weeks or something like that. And then we were invited to speak at a conference here in Ottawa. Actually, someone who was running the conference that Steve had trained has trained over 15 years. And he said, it'd be really a shame if I have this huge conference here in Ottawa and you don't get to speak on stage. Like, come speak on stage. What are you going to speak about? So I said to Steve, well, I think we should introduce this app. And Steve's like, it's not going to be ready, Jane. It's not going to be. And I'm like, make it ready. Like, there's no option. Like, it has to be ready. So he started working from 4 in the morning till 11:30 at night to get this app ready. He's never built an app in his life, but he does have a bit of an IT background, so he does understand some things. And to build an app, you use AI to help you build the app. So it's just, it was a process. So that was on a Friday. And what we did is we got it to the stage. This app was, and I'll tell you the name in a minute, the app got to the stage where he could actually present it. And he used people from the audience to explain how this works. They became a part of the brain. And that was his first time delivering a talk on it. And we had everybody pre-sign up for it. And then on Monday, we would launch it because he needed the weekend just to finish it. So it's called Brains, BREHNZ.ai, because the EH is for Canadian, because we're proudly Canadian, A. And then on the Monday, that Monday morning, so he had done all of this himself. And that Monday morning, he got up. It had been working the night before. And when he went to go live with it, it didn't work. And we had the first group of people at 10 o'clock. And he came into me and he was like, Jayne, you have to cancel this, cancel all these. I'm like, I'm not canceling anybody. You're going to be teaching this like you did on Friday, but they just can't go in and use the app yet. So what he did, he's on a flip chart, he showed how it all worked and why it was different than ChatGPT and why it's better than Gemini for this purpose. It's not a research app. It's not something you're going to use to research. It's something you're using for writing, and it helps coach you to become a better writer as well. So there was this one piece he just could not get it to work. So I went on to Upworks and I put it out there and said, my husband is launching this app in 4 hours, and there's one piece he just can't get to work. Is there somebody willing to jump on and go on Zoom right away? And they're like, yeah, absolutely, no problem. So this guy, his name is Umair, he came on and Steve said to him, like, Steve's just spent all this time creating this, right? And he's afraid. He doesn't know this guy. This guy is from overseas, like, has no idea who this guy is. And the guy's like, yeah, no, no, I can fix it. Like, just give me your back end. I'll go in. And so Steve says, okay, let me watch you, but don't touch any code. Well, the guy goes in, he changes all the code. He's this, that, whatever. Like 30 seconds later, he's like, okay, it's fixed. Go ahead, you can deploy it. And Steve's like, what? Like, he's like terrified the whole system's going to crash, right? And so he deploys it and it's fixed. And now it was great. So Steve can do his 3 o'clock call that he's got with all these people. And what we wanted was a bunch of beta testers that would go in and tell us this works, that doesn't work, that. And we hired this guy from overseas named Umair to come in and do some fine tuning on the app. Well, 3 days later, he comes to us and says, okay, this app is great, but it's built on a system called Bubble, and Bubble owns it. So if they decide to start charging $500 a month or $800 a month, you have to pay it because they own your app. He says, but I can build you an AI coded app within the next 4 days. It's yours. You can do anything you want with it. It's your app. You can put it on any platform you want. So we're like, okay. And because Steve knew how it worked, he was okay with it because he knew this was just like taking it and making it better, way better. So with everybody telling us through the beta system and testing, the app is now 100% complete and it is unbelievable what it does. And now you can put your brain in there. It talks like you, it speaks like you, it sounds like you, and it's got the conversion, the persuasion, the storytelling elements all in it. So that I use it a lot to write emails. And it's quite fascinating because I've always written, and I thought I was pretty good at a sales email. And I've always written in a certain way. And it's like, no, 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 no. You don't start with this, you start with this because, and what this app does that no other app does, or ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude, is it audits what you wrote. So it audits it out of 10 based on conversion, persuasion, storytelling. I think there's 10 things that audits it on. So once you've written it, now you can say do an audit. And it'll come back and it'll tell you, well, this is really good, but you don't have this point in. You're missing this point. And I'll rewrite it for you using like fixing those points. And then you say, okay. And then it comes back and it's 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10. I like to get it to 10 out of 10, but that's just because like I like to play with it. 8 out of 10 is perfectly fine. So that's the advantage over this app to any other thing that's out there right now is that it's actually auditing your work for you, that you can see where, so you might get something out of ChatGPT and you go, oh, that looks really great. I love that. Like that sounds awesome. But then you run it into brains and it's going to say, no, that it doesn't persuade well. It doesn't convert well. It doesn't. And that's the power of this app. And that's what it does. So that's what I'm
Congratulations on
working
getting
on.
it.
It's very
Yeah.
exciting. It's very cool. And we've actually started advertising it very, very minimally, just testing what markets work best. And we're advertising it all through all the social media platforms. So yeah,
Very good. If
that's
you need
very
any readers,
Congratulations.
I've got a bunch of writers, just saying.
They can, anytime they want, they go to brains.ai. It's 5 days free testing, and then it will prompt you after the 5 days, and it will ask you if you want to continue on, and it's $67 a month. And there is a, if you buy it all up front, then there is a deal as well. So yeah, yeah, love to have them.
Excellent. All right. So the next question I have for you,
Yes,
if you were to meet a new person,
yes,
say like when we first met,
yes,
and we engage, this looks great. I say, Jayne, I need you in my corner.
right.
What does that look like?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So one of the and you know this from working with us,
Mhm.
RoseMarie, is that we meet people where they're at. So we don't have, other than the certification program, and then we also do sell something called Signature Talk Mastery. It's an online course where you could go through and write your own talk. But most people, we have a conversation with them, and the difference that I would like to say we make than other companies is we don't have, here's a course for, $1,500 and you take this course and this is what's going to happen to you. What we like to do is work with you to find out what your needs are. What are you missing? Where are you going? What's happening for you? How can we help you and serve you? And then we can either write your talk for you. We can get you on one of our stages. We can help you with your stage presence. We can write a course for you. We can do a webinar for you. We can, walk you through brains. You could do it that way. So we like to work with someone where they're at. And now we're actually, a couple of our clients have come to us to write a book for them. So, instead of using a ghostwriter that in the past was like $20,000, using brains and working with you 90 minutes at a time, Steve can actually take your story, write it, and get it to you within a couple of months at, a fraction of that cost. So that's sort of where we're heading, and that's what it looks like with the one-on-one work that we do. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, it took me 7 years to write my book. Just saying, don't let
Yeah.
that happen to you.
Well, the next one won't take you 7 years, maybe 7 weeks.
Well, that I've already got the title. The title is written.
Nice. Love
Uh,
it.
yeah. Now, I know you don't really do the 1 days anymore. So you're doing the 90-minute blocks. You're
Yeah.
doing and it's a lot easier as far as lives are busy, people
Yes.
are everywhere in this world. You can work with people anywhere in the world. But if somebody were to beg and plead, and they were in Ottawa and they wanted to have a 1 day or a 1 weekend intensive,
Yeah.
knowing that that is not a normal offer, but that is perhaps available very rarely in your
Yeah.
schedule.
Yeah.
What kind of transformation do you think somebody could have by allowing you into their brain for that amount of time?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think what it would look like is Steve would actually, like, let's say someone wanted to talk and they wanted to spend a day with us, maybe perfecting that talk. Steve
Mhm.
would probably write their talk ahead of time with them and for them. And then in that day that they would spend with us, they would actually be working on the talk that they've already, had and been working through it. And he would be working with them on what their style is of speaking, how they would speak, Now, if somebody wanted to do, like Steve has a beautiful studio set up here. If someone wanted to do a webinar, he would work with them for that one day on the webinar using his studio and showing them how do you click in, how do you click out, what are the best systems to use. I mean, you've been on some of his webinars, you know, it's like it's a whole thing that's happening there. He'd work with them
Darth
to,
Vader's bathroom.
yes. He would show them how to do that, what to do. That will be, you know, a one day. We sometimes with our one days, we do it in a group setting where we'll take people to a location and there'll be maybe 3 or 4 people. They'll get up on stage and they get a little reprieve in between because if you were to spend one whole day just working on your talk, you'd be exhausted. But
Yes.
if you have 3 people and you can get off the stage, kind of process a bit, get back on the stage, you know, that would be the stage piece. That would be what it would look like. And if I were to do mindset with someone for a day, which I would do, I have a process that I take people through 12 kind of parts, and I work on chakras. So I work on
Mm.
first, second, third, fourth chakra. And then I will do fifth, which is your throat, sixth, which is kind of here, and then seventh, which is the top of your head. Um, and I will work on somebody for a day doing that. It's intense. It's intense. And
It would
people,
be.
yeah, people leave and they're like, wow, they, you know, they've really shifted some things in their mind for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, they need to have a little emotional reset after
Yeah.
that. Like with me, it's always the heart chakra that people are like, you got to work on
Yeah.
that. But it sounds like you have a great adult summer camp plan that you could put
Yeah.
together. Just saying.
Yeah.
We
No
need
problem.
summer camp too. So the
Exactly.
last question in the lightning round.
Yeah.
If you personally could instantly master any new skill,
What would that be?
you don't already have it, what would
Yeah.
that be?
Oh my goodness. It's a good question. I think maybe it would be I have so many skills that I feel in my old age I've mastered a lot of them. Um, I think I would like to be better. I would like to be a better speaker. I do speak, but I'm not like I have not mastered that skill. It's the one when your husband's a speaker trainer, it's a little bit intimidating to be on a stage and speaking because, you know, I know what he tells other people, and then I'm like, oh, how do I do that, and that? I think that would be the skill I would want to learn is like to really take time and master the skill and really be a better speaker that would make him proud as a speaker trainer and you know me being his wife. So I think that would be the skill I'd really want to master.
May I hazard a bit of mindset advice towards you, where I believe that you are already there. I've seen you speak, been there. The way that you connect with the audience is fantastic. So you might need to re-answer the question with something new. You genuinely can own a stage. That is not an issue. So
Um, yeah. Okay. You want me to?
I get the relation, he's the speaker trainer, all of that, but there's definitely you own that stage.
Yeah. I guess just I mean, I feel like the things I want to do, I've pretty much
Done.
mastered. Yeah. Like, you know, we can always improve. We can all, but there's not one thing that I would say, oh, well, I haven't done this and I'd like to master that. Like, I pretty much, you know, I'm as far along in AI as I want to be. I don't
Yeah.
want to be anything further than that. I'm really good at delegating. I'm really good at, you know, hiring the people we need to hire. Um, it's just, I think this, there isn't one skill. I just want to continue to be learning. I want to continue to always be seeing what's new out there, what's different. What can I like AI, you know, when it came out and I was like, okay, how can we apply that to our business? So it's kind of just staying on top of everything
Mhm.
and just staying okay, this is where, you know, we need to be. I think that's what I want to master is just like, you know, how do I continue to bring that vision to the company?
Yeah, a lifelong learner.
Yeah, Exactly.
I like that.
So I think
Lifelong
Pamela's
learning
in
is
on that too.
Yeah.
that's my job right now in retirement is lifelong learning for
Yeah,
sure. So,
exactly.
so we're almost out of time. I know we've got a hard time stop. So is there anything you want to add before we end our conversation, Jayne?
No, I love what you two are doing. I think you're gonna have some really amazing conversations with amazing people. And if it's okay with you, I'll give you some people I think that would be fascinating for you to interview, and a couple that have written some books that you might not know. And I keep doing what you're doing. I think it's awesome.
It
I
is
appreciate
fun.
that. Thank you. Last call, RoseMarie. Do you want to add anything before we finish?
No, I think you got it.
Okay, so Jayne, it's a pleasure to having you with us, and we wish you continued success in helping entrepreneurs, business leaders achieve their goals. Thank you again, and thank you to everyone who joined us today. For anyone to learn more, check out the Lowell's website at stevelowell.com or learn about the Lowell books, which include Steve Lowell's Deep Thought Strategy and From Stage Fright to Spotlight. Both
And
are available on Indigo and Amazon. Sorry, yeah.
we also have this book, which is, I have my blur on, but it's Emerge, and we
Yep.
wrote it with Brian Tracy, and we have 30 authors in here that have told their story, which is really great.
When I saw it online, I'm like, I know who Brian Tracy is. Everybody
Yeah,
should know. That's really
that cross.
and some of the reviews on your website are very interesting people as well. So Emerge, Be the Unmistakable Authority in Your Field, which was co-written by Brian Tracy, Jayne, and Steve Lowe, and among others, is available on Amazon as well. Are you going to get that one on Indigo, or right now it's on Amazon? I think.
Right now it's on Amazon,
Right
and
now
then
it's on Amazon. Okay. If you found this interview informative and enjoyable, please take a moment to click like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future interviews featuring authors, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders. Your support helps us continue bringing meaningful conversations to a wider audience. Thank you, and until next time. Bye, everyone.
See ya.